starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Well, good evening to all of you. It's fantastic to have you online for another Let's Talk Property series. As you know, it's a very, one of our greatest things is trying to find some of the best people around the world. Firstly, before we do get started, I do want to make apology for last night. Unfortunately, sometimes life happens, and my son unfortunately got ill with a seizure literally 40 minutes before we were supposed to start. The good news is they held him overnight, and nothing's happened again, and they've discharged him, and he's quite fine. So I do appreciate, and I do appreciate JT making himself available again tonight, and also my own team that jumped around, and to all of those of you who have come on live tonight. I'm sure you're in for a great treat. So before I get started, I want to ask you guys just a question and make sure that you're all there and awake and live, because we always say in webinars it's very important to be interactive because you're going to learn a hell of a lot. So does anyone know what the definition of glocalization is? What does glocalization actually mean? And while I'm waiting for the answers to come through, we're very proud to bring these Let's Talk Property series to you, brought to you by Private Property, Real Estate Investor, International Property Solutions, and Wealth Migrate. But let's see there. We don't have too much interaction, so we need everyone in South Africa to wake up. It's 7 p.m. in the evening, and quite a lot earlier. So Graham says he's not sure. Chetan says, I don't know. Does anyone want to give a guess? Anyone got any idea as to what globalization means? So I can see there's lots of people coming through and saying they're not sure. So globalization is thinking globally, acting locally. And for me, it's, as a passionate South African, there's an absolute, we live in a phenomenal country, but one has to look globally for knowledge. You know, at the end of the day, we are often, many people will attribute the fact that we are many years behind in terms of trends, what's happening both in the business, the sales, and the property community. Now, I've always been very passionate about coaching. I've followed the self-help books, read the self-help books, been on coaching courses, and personally had my own business. At the moment, I've got 4 coaches, a business, 2 business coaches, a life coach, and a gym coach. But in 2010, I made a massive change in my life. I spent over 500,000 Rand personally going over to 2 events, one in America and one in Fiji. And that really was a major catalyst for a lot of the achievement that I've had over the last couple of years. And on the back of that, I'm always looking to try and learn from new people, to understand what's happening globally. And so I went to an event in March it was called the Success Summit. There were about 18 speakers from all over the world with many different genres, all different types of presentations. The only local person was a guy called Robin Banks, which, to be honest, I still think is one of the better speakers in South Africa. I think his Mind Power course is really good. But I was intrigued by this young gentleman who jumped on stage. He was really confident in terms of what he knew. And I was very intrigued by his age. He was 33 years old. He runs and owns 45 companies. He made his first million in American property by the age of 25. And, I listened to, as I said, 18 different speakers, and a lot of them were giving us kind of their guidance and their solutions in terms of what happens. And I have learned one thing in life: if you try and listen to everyone, you'll get nowhere, because everyone has different philosophies. And I sat, and for me, the critical turning point was when JT told a story about how one of the companies that he got started was a Thai company. And he very much said that as the CEO of a business, you need to stay in the future. As the founder of a business, you need to stay in the future. As the CEO, you need your CEO in the present, and you need your staff to be working in the past and making stuff happen. And it intrigued me the way he told the story, and the way how he needed a tie, and the Thai company couldn't help him. So he asked the Thai company that he would buy 10 ties. And the guy said, look, I can't help you. And he realized there was an opportunity here, because effectively he couldn't get these ties, and they were great ties. And so he said, well, bottom line is, why don't I buy your company? And that's how he managed to get a Thai company, as one of the 45 companies. So I actually signed up for the coaching, and I thought that tonight would be of extreme value to you, because at the end of the day, this gentleman is one of the thought leaders in terms of business, sales, property, and ultimately in terms of globalization. So finding out what is going on in terms of global and where we're going and what is exactly happening. So without further ado, I wanted to actually invite JT online. It's an honor and a privilege, JT, to have you online, and we look forward to learning from what you've got to teach us tonight.
Thank you. How are you doing, Scott?
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. And again, really, really thanks for understanding last night and making yourself available for everyone online. And obviously, it's awesome to have so many people online this evening, and we really are intrigued to learn, and what you've got to share with us in terms of where we're actually going. So, JT, before I hand over to you, I just wanted to kind of introduce you and let people know exactly, a little bit about you and who you are. I know that your website is it's just a landing page, but it gives a bit of a breakdown of who you are, and it's meetjtfox.com. And if one
Well,
goes there, what's
there's
that?
also JT Fox. There's jtfox.com, Fox with two X's, and
Okay.
yeah, you have pretty much everything I do there. And obviously, it's a pleasure to be on. But before I start, a couple of things. I'm glad your son is doing okay, and also too, I'm currently here in America, and all our prayers are also with Nelson Mandela. We know how important he's been to South Africa, but also to the rest of the world. So keeping those two things in mind, I hope for a speedy recovery, and I'm glad your son's okay.
No, I appreciate it, mate. From both on from my point of view and everyone in South Africa. So no, it is interesting times in terms of where we are. Just to give you a little bit of feedback for everyone else, because there's a lot of people when I read through the comments as to who you are, JT. I think it's really important to understand that you at the moment are the world's #1 business and real estate coach. You're good friends with the Trumps. You mentioned that you were on the phone this morning with Mr. Trump.
Yes, well, I was on the phone with all of them. They're together. They're actually at Trump Doral right now, and they're renovating. So they were all in the same room when I called Eric. Eric is a very, very good friend of mine. He's actually going to be at Skyping at Mega Partnering Africa. And 8 years ago, I was completely broke. I had no money. I saw one of those property infomercials, and I wanted to get into properties. And it's never quite like they explain it on television. And I moved from Canada to America about 8 years ago, and for the first 9 months, I'm sleeping on Alpha's couch, eating ramen noodles, drinking Kool-Aid, and all of a sudden, I'm about to move back to Canada because I'm down to minus 340,000 rand. And then my first property deal hit. I made 700,000 rand, and then my next deal I made 1.3 million rand. And since then, I've done well over 900 pieces of properties all over the world. But I'm a strong believer that you need to be good at one thing, and then from then on, you need to hedge and diversify. And I expanded in buying, selling businesses. I expanded in investing in businesses. I invested in various things because I do believe about having multiple streams of income, except most people have multiple streams of income, don't have any water going through those streams, which is only a desert. So um, and then I start speaking, and then people are interested in my story, and I start speaking about real estate, and then it just kind of grew into marketing, branding, relationships, and next thing you know, people are paying me money to teach them one-on-one, and then next thing you know, I became the highest paid coach in the world, partly because I know exactly what people need to succeed, and I think I've proven it not only in the United States, in Canada, in China, in Australia, New Zealand, the UK, and Dubai, and now in South Africa. I mean, I was a virtually unknown 3 months ago in South Africa, and now we're having Mega Partnering Africa next week. I've got all these billionaires calling me, these South African billionaires. Everybody wants to come because at the end of the day, whether you're a property investor or you're an entrepreneur, the most important thing is relationships. It's not what you know, it's not who you know, it's who knows you, because your network equals your net worth. And I think why we've had so much success in South Africa and Africa in a very short amount of time is because I think I'm meeting people like yourself. There's so much potential. I've been all over the world, South Africans and Africans with that much potential. And I think a lot of them were still stuck into the mindset stuff and the rah, you can do it. And I just wanted to, rather than being tactical property investors or tactical entrepreneurs, that I would teach them how to be transformational, how to be strategic. And since then, it's exploded. And we had Mega Partnering 7, which is the world's #1 event. We had it in Los Angeles a couple weeks ago with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Donna Karen from DKNY. And we had about 62 South Africans that flew. And they said it was the greatest experience. And many of them won awards already. Some of my most successful clients are actually South Africans, not only in the business realm, but the property. And so my philosophy is all about market disruption. And now that we're doing Mega Partnering Africa next week, I'm excited because my business model is very simple. I don't speak for money. I speak for my business model is very simple. The more successful you are, the more successful I am. And it's because I speak and because I've made a lot of people successful that I'm able to meet several billionaires in South Africa. And then I'm friends with some of the most successful people because I don't just talk about it, I get it done. And
But tell me,
when you have
JT,
people,
JT, why do you think there's such potential in South Africa? You know, we often quite hard on ourselves as South Africans. Why do you see that potential as someone coming from the outside, if you want to call it that, and coming to South Africa and actually seeing that potential?
Well, I think a lot of you know about suffering, you know about overcoming adversity, and if you're able to overcome everything you've overcome, business is very simple. I think sometimes in the United States and even in Canada, people are too comfortable. That's why I've done very well in China. I've done very well in South Africa. Is that people want it. You know, it's like a soccer match. You know, you want a football match. You know, you want the last shot. You want the last kick. You're not afraid of taking the shot. And I think a lot of the fear that's based out of, you know, there's always 8 reasons why people are not earning their worth. You know, you have fear, time management, procrastination, lack of focus, lack of funds. I'm not sure what I want to do, and I can do it myself. And so those are usually the biggest hurdles. And I think fear is the thing that grows a lot of South Africans. They believe that, oh, I can't do it because everybody around them is telling them they can't do it. And when someone can't do something themselves, they want to tell you, you can't do it. You know, misery loves company. If you're miserable and they're miserably happily together. You know, I'm doing a webinar for you, but I stopped doing webinars and anything like that. I'm actually in my office. My CEO, Damien, is right in front of me. We're working on big projects, and I'm taking time away to talk to you guys. It doesn't really, you know, do anything for me, but I believe that because you're a coaching student of mine, because you're an immense success, because you want your clients to succeed, then I'm willing to do that because I treat my students and my clients like family. And family is very important to me, and we always put family first. And so I think that's why we've had so much success in a very short amount of time, because nobody cares about how many properties I have or how many companies I own or who I hang out with. And that's important maybe for credibility. But what South Africans want to know is, what can you do for us? How quickly can we get it done? And how do we overcome all the naysayers? You know, sometimes people are afraid of success. I think success is one of the most wonderful things in the world, because when the more successful you are, the more you can give.
JT, one of the things you say here is you like to help ordinary people who are looking to do extraordinary things. And, you know, do you mind if I change the presentation, you know, over to yourself? Because that word fascinates us, because at some level we're all ordinary, and at some level we're all extraordinary. And I think, you know, most of us don't, you know, underestimate how extraordinary we can be. And I would really like to get into that and delve into that in a bit more detail and really understand how you can help people become extraordinary.
Well, yeah, I mean, listen, we're all ordinary. I used to be a stutter. I used to be completely broke. And I used to be completely broke. And, you know, at the end of the day, I think you're only as good as the people you surround yourself with. Can you see my slide, Scott?
Just 2 seconds. I think you need to say okay or something. I've given the
Okay,
presentation
hold
to you. I
on.
can see it hasn't come up yet.
Okay, hold on 1 second. I just like talking to you.
So I gave it to you. You normally have to just press OK.
Okay. Oh, there it is. Sorry about that. They was showing in my other screen. Show screen. There we go. This technology thing. I know it eats you alive when people don't know what they're doing. I'm the same way. All right. So okay. So can you see my screen?
Yeah, we got your screen now. Perfect.
All right. You see the switch, the changing of the screen. I just want to make sure. Did it
Yeah,
just
yeah.
change on you?
Yeah, we got you perfect. Yep.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, sometimes it doesn't work. All right, so what I want to talk about is property investing and business growth. The secrets they don't teach you in business school are at Harvard. Harvard University is considered the standards. I know, Scott, you were considering going to get an MBA there. And at the end of the day, I want to teach you that an MBA is nothing. Most people that have MBAs end up working like people who are listening to this call on here. And one of the things I want to bring up is that what you don't know in business, that's what's costing you right now. If you're not earning your worth or you're not doing what you're supposed to, that's what you don't know. And that's what I want to do here. I want to tell you what you don't know and how to monetize, maximize, and optimize everything you do. Because I think it's a very important component of business. Now, 91% of the Forbes 400 got richer in the past year, while the average American and Canadian had a net worth decrease. So think about this. In America and Canada, and in America, that is the hub for entrepreneurism all over the world, and I'm compulating statistics by Forbes Africa, which are going to be at Mega Partnering Africa, and they're saying that they're seeing all the entrepreneurs increase their wealth. So listen, everyone in the world knows that the future is in South Africa and Africa. The only people who don't know that are South Africans. It was the same thing in the United States in the past couple of years. Everybody was staying away from real estate. Everyone's saying it was not good. Every American, every media, no one wanted to invest in America. You had an influx of Chinese, South Africans, influx of all these businesses come in and invest in properties in America. So Americans didn't even believe investing in properties while the whole world rests. And that's why there's been so much money made. That's why so many people are coming to America. That makes a very big difference. So in business, and this applies to real estate as well, you need to, the fundamentals never change. So does success choose you or do you create it? Ask yourself those questions. How you change is how you succeed. And the choices you make determine the reality of your outcome. The choices you make determine the reality of your outcome. So you need to decide right now if you just merely want to exist or you want to live. Most people, they exist, they're comfortable, they listen to what other people say, and as a result, that's why they're stuck. See, failure is unmerciful to the weak, and success is rewarding to the visionary and risk taker. Nothing happens unless you take action. Most people are dreamers. Dreamers don't make it. The successful ones that make it are visionaries. Every successful entrepreneur or real estate investor, internet marketer, and people who reside on the Forbes 400 have one thing in common. Looking back at their success, it was one person, one deal, and one opportunity to change their life forever. To change their life and their business forever in a way that has not only become significant, but has left a legacy, made this planet a better place than when it first got here. That's the goal. It's not just about significance. It's about legacy. It's about making a difference. So let me ask you a question. Number one, are you earning your worth? Are you actually happy financially where you are? Are you surrounded by people that are more successful than you? And at this point in your life, are you happy where you're at financially? If the answer is no with all those questions, then you got to stop everything you're doing, because doing more of what you're doing now is not going to get you to this level. To become successful in today's market.
Jason, just a quick one before you move on. You know, I love with webinars to keep people interactive because it makes sure that they're watching and everything. So, you know, ladies and gentlemen, for JT's benefit, answer some of those questions. You know, are you earning your net worth? You know, are you as successful as you want to be? If you'd mind going back just one slide there, JT. It's very important, because then, you know, it's one thing when you just ask the question, but it's another thing when I sit and I'm actually honest with myself and I say, well, actually, am I? You know, am I surrounding myself with people who are more successful than me? You know, there's that saying that you're only as successful as the people you surround yourself with, and generally your net worth is the same as the 5 people you hang out with most. And so you've got to ask yourself the honest questions. And the question is, you know, are you doing it? We've got loads of people online tonight. Why not be honest with yourself and share it, you know?
No, I agree. I mean, those are all very important points, Scott. You're making a good point. You know, to become successful in today's market, you have to get away from the structured MBA institutional fallacies of what a business person should or should not think. I think there's too many people telling us what we should or should not think at this point. And so we have to stop telling that. We have to create our own economy. Instead, you have to think about disruption, disrupting the normal, and think in terms of degrees. It's something my coach taught me. For example, 212 degrees, right? At 212 degrees, water is hot. At 212 degrees, steam is produced. Steam can power a train. What do you think would happen if you start raising your potential 1 degree at a time? So most people think that, oh, someone said to me, oh, you have 45 business. Why would you do that? Most of the time, the business that takes the most amount of time for me is the one that I'm currently doing now, because it involves my time. Most of the businesses, I just look at financial spreadsheets and tell people what to do here and there because I have systems in place. So to take your life and your business to the next level, you need to increase the steam on your marketing, your branding, and your relationship, especially if you're a property investor, especially if you want to start a business, or especially if you have an existing business. Those are the 3 most important things you all need to focus on. You must stop working in your business and start working on your business, all right? So let me ask you a question here, Scott, and this is a good point to be interactive. Does your company or investing company have the right branding to support innovation and conceptual growth? Especially for property investors, it's very important. Does your company have the right value system and the systems of belief? Can your company run without you and profit without you being there? Take it away, Scott.
Look, from my perspective, I think from a branding perspective, yes. You know, we've been the innovators in 4 international markets now. South Africa, the US, Australia, and the UK. I think in terms of the right value and belief system, I think very much so. We base everything on Zig Ziglar's principle that you can have anything in life if you help enough other people get what they want, and it's the whole principle of helping other people invest. But in terms of the third one, no. I've it's actually the big lesson that I learned in 2010 when I said I spent all that money. In terms of, I've always believed that building businesses was about going out, making more sales, being out there, doing the marketing. I never really liked the accounting side, etc., etc. And the more experience I've got, and the more successful people I hang around with, the more I've learned that it is about exactly what you said in terms of systems and controls and flight decks, so that you can, in terms of your financials, so that you can just look at the numbers and not necessarily have to be involved in the day-to-day running of the business. And that's been, honestly, I've understood it from a theoretical perspective, but in a practical, it's a lot harder said than done, from my experience.
I agree with you. I agree with you. So, do you want to know what the secret to wealth and success, Scott, is?
Always, dude. Chasing the dream, man.
Yeah, everyone's always telling me the same thing. Do you want to know what has held back Harvard MBAs while the most successful entrepreneurs in the world dropped out of Harvard? It's very simply disrupt the normal, and you will dominate the market. That's the key. You should have that on a t-shirt. You should have that on a written post-it note. You should remind yourself, if you disrupt the normal, you will dominate the market. If you're doing what everybody else is doing in properties, if you're doing everything else done in businesses, you're going to have the same outcome and same result. Then there's something I teach called sustainability versus disruptive market innovation. Especially in properties, I do that. Sustainability is, as an investor, the less work I do, the more I earn. If you have to do all the work in the properties, then what happens is that you've created yourself a job. And disruptive market innovation is doing things that are absolutely so different than everybody else that you get more deals, more funding, more opportunity. Most failures in business come from a lack of focus, a lack of strategic commitment, and a lack of relational capital.
What they
don't teach you?
Sorry, JT. Just to be a translator for South Africans, can anyone tell me what relational capital is? Not you, JT. I just want to see if everyone's.
Thank you.
So anyone, come on, anyone out there? What is relational capital? So Rick says it's the people you know. Anyone else got any ideas? Ladies and gentlemen, the one thing that JT said, and the reason that 99% of people, not only in America, not only in Australia, not only in England, including South Africa, only 1% of people retire financially free in South Africa. 96% of people retire poor or reliant on the government, and only 3% of people are effectively okay from a retirement perspective. And the number one reason is that they don't take action. They're too scared to make mistakes. And so for me, if JT's asking questions and I'm asking you questions, rather take action and make a mistake than sit on the fence and watch other people run their lives. So I can see that people are coming through here. Andre says investing in relationships, the people you surround yourself with, mentors, the strength of relationships, time invested in relationships. I agree with Rick. So fantastic. Well done to everyone who took action. I do still find it very disappointing that only around 10% of people are contributing. And again, if you just sit back in life, when you go to a rugby game, is it different from sitting in the stadium and watching someone else play rugby? Or is it different when you're actually on the pitch playing yourself? So, and the only way to play is when JT asks the questions to answer them and to get involved. So back to you, JT.
Thank you. Relational capital, there's 4 types of capital. There's financial capital, that's money you invest in your properties or your business. Educational capital, the money you invest in coaching and education and books and tapes. There's social capital, that's giving back to your community. And relational capital is investing in the relationships. It's all about relationships. What they don't teach you at Harvard Business School is that most businesses and most real estate decisions are backed by fear, paralysis by analysis, and by what others think. People invest at the end of the world is coming, so they're going to invest in real estate, or they're held back because in real estate or business they're always overthinking things, right? Why they can't do things, why it's not going to work, and they follow what other people think. That's one thing in South Africa I've noticed. A lot of people are conscious of what other people think, and my philosophy is this: I don't take any advice from anybody who's less successful than me. If they're more successful, I think they've earned the right to give me their opinion. If they're not, most people won't listen to that. That's just my experience. All true successful entrepreneur or real estate investor know they live by the principle and the idea that in order to become successful, you must first become uncomfortable. I know many of you want to invest in the United States, but you're uncomfortable because you're like, wow, it's another country. I don't know about it. Well, the same was for me when I came first to South Africa. You know, now we'll be going to Nigeria in about a month and a half as well. So that's uncomfortable because I don't know. But at first you're uncomfortable, and then you become more comfortable the more you do it. Most entrepreneurs fail because they create a culture of capabilities for themselves and their business. So they create the barriers before they even started. You know, it's time to change that. So what I like to do here is to give you the mega partnering sort of MBA. Exactly in business and real estate, what do I do? Mega partnering is the world's #1 event right now, Wealth Network Conference. People from all over the world come, and I've learned a lot of lessons. So #1, in real estate or business, you have to know your numbers. You have to apply strategic tracking system and rigorous analysis, not to your core capability, but also to range of function as varied as marketing and human capital. So know your numbers, know your systems, your properties. If you just invest by the gut, it doesn't always work. So you have to know your numbers, facts, numbers, and statistics. Survival and business sustainability is dependent on your understanding and the importance of analytics, development, maintenance spearheaded by your team, not you. So a lot of people in properties, they're like, oh, my team's handling everything. If you don't know the numbers, how can you expect your team to know the numbers? So that's one thing that we ingrain, especially on our properties. We tell our people,
just a quick question there, because I've been doing your coaching, and I know that on one of your coaching calls, I think about 2.5, 3 years ago, you were talking about how you had this big mind shift change where you realized the importance of systems and building, knowing your numbers so that you could track the businesses and the properties. What actually changed for you in terms of that mindset shift, and what were the results of that happening?
Well, when you start talking to people with a lot of money to invest in your properties or your business, they wanted numbers and statistics, and I didn't have any. And also, too, we start seeing breakdowns in business and systems. And when there was a breakdown, it made a big difference. So what happens if you don't have a system, eventually you run out of gas because you didn't have a gauge. It's like driving a car with no fuel gauge. Maybe you have some, maybe you don't. But if you run out, how do I know I run out? And that's exactly what's happened. We kept running out of petrol.
I've never heard that analogy before, but it makes so much sense.
I just made that up, buddy. I just made that up. I like it too. I'm going to use it. I take full credit. I call it the petrol syndrome, mind syndrome. So I'm going to create a whole book around it. You'll see. Next week I'll launch it. So mega partnering rule #2: ask yourself the right questions, the ones from the gut, rather than the ones that society has conditioned us to think and have asked. So how is my product or investment or service most distinctive? How is my product, investment, or service most profitable? So you need focus. Which of my clients or partners are most satisfied and why? And if I was being coached, let's say by JT Foxx, my business would be X. If I do not have a coach, my business would be X. So a lot of times,
JT, can I just ask quickly, how many people online actually have a coach? It's a very unknown. I lived in London for 9 years, and that's probably why I know a lot more about the coaching than the average South African. But I'm just interested, everyone online, how many of you actually have a coach, be it a gym coach, be it a life coach, be it a business coach, a relationship coach?
Actually, someone that they pay.
Someone that you pay.
Someone that gives you free advice is a mentor, but that's just basic advice. Someone that you pay.
There's a lot of people here saying, no business coach, no business coach. Peer's expensive. Unfortunately, I don't. No. Where would you start? No, coach. I mean, I think the biggest thing that I found from coaching, JT, is that it holds me accountable, and it helps you get to the next level a lot quicker than if you try and do it yourself.
Well, the problem is that people say it's expensive. No, it's expensive not having one, right? And so not having a coach, that's what's costing you money. That's what people do. Coaching doesn't cost you money, it makes you money. I have 8 coaches. I don't make any business decision unless I first bounce it off my coach. Why? A wise man learns from his mistakes while a genius learns from other people's mistakes. I'm sure for some of them who want to invest in properties with you in the United States, asking you whether or not they should do it or not before, that would be a good thing. Whether I should go after this relationship. How do I make this relationship better? Should I invest with this person? Should I do business? How do I grow my business? If you do everything yourself, for like athletes, if you think about it, if you're in a 100-meter race, 9.79, you win the gold medal. 9.84, you win the silver. 9.87, you win the bronze. 9.88, you're not on the podium. We're talking about milliseconds. 9.79, you're on the cover of the Wheaties box, world sensation, millionaire endorsements, you're set for life. Silver and bronze member, no one remembers you. And the difference is in coaching. So the coaches are trying to get you that extra millisecond, that extra performance. And that's what people, it's the same thing in business, right? You think you're doing a good job, but a coach could quadruple that easily. So
just a quick one before you move on, JT. It's a big misnomer in this country, in South Africa, that there isn't coaching. A lot of people have said it's not available, no coaches. Someone said, I've been looking for a coach for 3 years, but I've been following Robert Kiyosaki. Paul Richardson asked, who is your coach? Paul, I'm not sure if you're asking me or JT. I'm happy to answer that, or if you want JT, we can ask him. Chad said, "How do you find the right coach?" That's a good question, JT. I'm not sure if you want to answer that first. I'm happy to answer that from my side.
The right coach is someone who basically, and people say, "Well, I'm in this industry. Should a coach be in the industry?" No, you don't. I mean, at the end of the day, number one, does the coach make more money than you? That's the first premise of that. You never want to be coached by someone that's less successful than you. And also, too, I just think, that's why we've done so well in South Africa. When we start coaching some of the clients and they've done very well, we've been very limited. We've said no to a lot of people because I don't want to take everyone. It doesn't make sense for me to take everyone. So I've been very careful on picking the right people like you, Scott. And I told you, one of our coaching clients, he got an award. Etienne is a property investor, very successful, got an award at Mega Partnering, got the chance to hang out with Arnold Schwarzenegger. I sent you that picture. All that happened because he took action. And I went to his gaming farm near Kruger, and we spent some time together. Part of a coach too. I mean, I'm sure over the next couple months, people have a chance to come to our event. Even some people might come to Mega Partnering Africa, and then we can see if they're the right fit. But I invest in people. I saw Scott as someone who was going to have great success because he knows what he's talking about. He cares. The problem that Scott wants to do too much, and he doesn't have the right systems. It's too dependent on Scott. Scott can't walk away from his business, as 99% of the people can't. So Scott's like, well, how do I do it the way JT does it? How am I able to do all these companies? I bet you I have more free time than anybody else here. After Mega Partnering Africa, I'll be taking a 3-week vacation in Europe, just traveling, and I'll stop my phone to do business and calls and stuff like that. But I have the right system. So I believe in putting the systems in place so it's less of me, more of everybody else.
JT, can I just answer some questions here quickly? A couple of people asked, where do you find the right coach? How do you find the right coach? From my experience, like anything in life, it takes time. If you've been to just one coach and it doesn't necessarily work for you, that doesn't mean it's the end of the game. It's a gut feel. There's, some people you align with and you align with their principles, and others you don't. Like I said to you, one of the biggest lessons I learned about 2 years ago is stop trying to run around and learn from everyone, read all the books. It's the wrong thing because you try and follow 5 different philosophies. It doesn't work. And then to answer Paul's question, he asked who my coaches are. As I said, I recently signed up when I met JT in March this year. I've been doing work with Roger Hamilton. That's also an international coach based out of Bali. He's been to South Africa a number of times. I've learned a huge amount from him in terms of, what's happening in terms of the whole crowdfunding thing and everything. I actually became apparent from him from a global perspective. At a local level, my business coach is Richard Neft. He's awesome from a strategic perspective. My life coach with my wife and my family is Janine, and my business and my gym coach, that's probably the one that I need to spend a bit more time with, is Tammy, in terms of doing it. So I don't know if that answers your question, Paul.
Scott, but, great coaches, you don't pick them; they pick you. And if you take a look at all my coaches, they all selected me. And I think that's to make a big difference. But, if you don't show up to events and you don't position yourself, nothing will happen. Coaches don't, it's not a thing where you Google coaches and then it pops up. There's a few people that pop up and you're probably the last people you want, for that. But, at the end of the day, here's the thing. Ideas are nothing. Implementation is everything. A good coach helps you implement. A lot of people come up with ideas. So I have something called speed of implementation. From the moment that I come up with an idea to the moment I implement it, right, will determine how successful I'm going to be. So how do you become successful? Number one, stop solving problems the same way. Most people You know what I mean? Solve problems the same way. You know, they keep doing the same thing over and over and over. You know, and then you need to adapt or die to the market. If you don't adapt, the market every 3 to 5, 6 months changes. If you don't change, you don't change as well. Success is a process of the mind combined with the heart, but driven by the gut. So your gut, 8 out of 10 times your gut is right, but then people think with the heart or they think with the brain, which leads to analysis by paralysis. You can't change the game, but you can disrupt the market. Most people say, I want to change the education system. I want to change this. I want to change the property market. No one is big enough to change it, not even me. But what you could do is you can create your own economy and disrupt the market that way. And then you got to enjoy it. Business, properties, it's all a game, right? And that's really what it is. And so you're playing the game of business. You know, a lot of people want to say, oh, I want to play this board game. And, you know, like, listen, stop playing board games and start playing the real game. So you're only as good as your last property deal or your last relationship. So a lot of people, they go in and say, oh, I've done 50 property deals. Well, you know, your last deal, you didn't do very well. That's how you're going to be remembered. Rule number 4, marketing is the engine of your business and branding is the fuel. Marketing is the engine.
Yes. Jason, sorry to butt in, but there's a very important question here from Winky, and I think it needs to be answered now. She said, how are you going to identify the people that has what it takes to be successful?
Well, first of all, I could tell within less than 30 seconds. Scott, I think you know that. I don't listen to what people say. I watch what they do. I can remember where Scott sat the first class he was in. I probably saw tens of thousands of students there. Front row, 4th seat to the left to the right of me, stage speaker right. Is that correct, Scott?
Yeah.
Right? I can tell you what Scott was wearing. So I pay attention to people. Who's writing what down, when they're writing down. Are they tactical thinkers? Are they strategic thinkers? You know what I mean? Listen, I don't invest in companies. I invest in people. And the same thing in coaching too. I invest in people. And I could tell very, very, like for example, there's someone that I found out in South Africa. They found out about Mega Partnering 7 with Arnold Schwarzenegger in LA 2 days before. You know what? They found out about it. They right away booked a plane ticket, flew all the way to Los Angeles, and that impressed me so much. And I'm going to do some work with that person, as opposed to saying, "Oh, it's too last minute. I have to fly." You know, excuses. Here's a quote I've been saying, and I've been quoting all over the world. The less excuses you have, the more successful you will become.
I love that. That's excellent.
Thank you. Is it as good as my petrol theory?
No, the petrol one's still my. I always believe on any event or any webinar, if I learn one thing, it was successful. And for me, the petrol gauge was my wow moment at the moment.
Thank you. I should just stop now. Mega Party rule number 5. The market disrupts and changes, but the fundamentals never do, especially in property investing. Focusing on strengthening the fundamentals to become a more competent and confident investor or entrepreneur to get better results. What's the key to successful property investing? Are you competent and confident? You may not be the expert at every investing strategy, but you're competent enough. The more competent you are, the less fearful you are, the more confident you'll become, and confident is a byproduct of success. So what are the fundamentals? So in any business, this is what I look like. This is a chart that I use, whether it's property investing, whether it's business. So I take a look at what's the investing and buying process of properties business. Segmentation. How can I build a list and segment? These are buyers, these are sellers, these are clients, these are partners. Then I figure out the life cycle of a client or a partner. How long do they stay as a partner? How long do they stay as a client? Then I look at intrinsic mapping. I take a look at heat wave marks about where should I invest, where should I do business. So I do a lot of analysis. Then I need a USP, a unique selling proposition. How am I different than my competition? Here's my top 5 competitors. Here's what they do. Here's how I'm different. Distribution. People like yourself, Scott, are distribution. Channels that I can get my message and my word out. Pricing. Am I going for below market to get rid of my properties quickly? Do I go for higher? Do I create exclusivity? PR. Very, very important to go to branding. Then I got to take a look at where's the economy going. So I'm very good and proficient on the economy. Then I look at my margins of profits. Always go into a business or to a property knowing the numbers of margins of profit. Most property investors or businesses, their profits are whatever's left over at the end of the month or whatever I end up making when I sell it. Then, very strong, most property investing or business happens online. So we're spending more and more time online. And of course, market disruption. What can I do that nobody else is doing? That is a chart that I've used in every single business I've ever done. What do you think, Scott?
Well, it's excellent. You know, the biggest thing I've learned from successful people, JT, is that they've got a formula, they stick to that formula, and they just do it over and over again. And that's how they're successful because they're not trying to do new things all the time. And this is your formula, and it makes sense to me. You know, and as long as someone's got the formula and it's working, and they repeat the formula, then success is guaranteed.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, marketing strategy. Marketing is a strategy. Failure means a lack of strategy. Too many property investors and entrepreneurs don't have strategy. So how did Mega Partnering become the world's #1 wealth networking and business conference? Well, number 2, I have a 7-step. Whether it's properties, whether it's business or events, here's what I look at. Number 1, buyer or partner analysis. Who's my buyer? Who's my potential partner? That's the most important thing. I create an avatar. Step 2, market analysis. What's hot? What's not now? Even though that I think if the market thinks this is hot, even though it's not, doesn't matter. Even though I'm different, give people what they need and what they want. Number 3, review the competition and yourself. You have to understand who your competition is at all times. Find distribution channels. Breakdown of marketing funnels. I often look at many of my competitors' marketing funnels and I break it down. Step 6, I understand the market economics. And step 7, test, 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 test. Something that is hard for a lot of us to do because we create, we set it, we forget it. You have to test in order to become successful. Strategic thinking is the gateway to innovation. Sorry,
mate, can I just ask a question there? Because I know that, you know, certainly it's a concern. A lot of my friends always say to me, you know, how did you start a business? And when you come back to test, and tell me if I've got this wrong, but I think it's an important understanding for everyone online, is that most people think that they're going to wake up and they're going to have the Bill Gates idea and that the Microsoft business plan is going to be sitting in front of them and boom, all they got to do is resign from their job and go and create, you know, Microsoft. And what I understand by what you're saying in terms of test, 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 is that actually it's about speed of implementation, which you said. It's about getting into the market and doing even small campaigns and just testing it. And if it works, then you're building more systems, then you're ramping it up. Is that what you're saying in terms of those 7 steps and then the testing side?
Well, I think it's just understanding that there's standard procedures you do every time. So it's really, if you have, it's like, you know, when you're driving to somewhere you don't know, you know, would you rather have a GPS? Do you go by yourself or you MapQuest it? If you MapQuest it or Google Maps it, you're printing it, you're trying to find it. I just believe in just using a GPS, plugging in the coordinates, and because most people are predictable. Most businesses do the same thing. Most consumers, property investors think the same way.
Perfect. Yep.
So so what is Mega Partnering? Well, you know, I get this vision, and I think people have known this. I hate going to events where there's 15 or 18 people selling their stuff. It kills me. And I always thought, you know, the World Economic Forum, I was watching 60 Minutes, which is a show in America. I don't know if you guys have it over there. And it was talking about the World Economic Forum, where people like, you know, the world's greatest power players, entrepreneurs, politicians, world thinkers gather for 5 days to network, build relationships, and change the world. Okay? So people like in Davos, Switzerland, you know, Bill Gates and, you know, Bill Clinton, Tony Blair, Bono. So, you know, a lot of big name people go in there because it says that, you know, everyone interviewed had one thing in common. They said success is about relationships, relationships, relationships. So I said to myself, so everyone from Bill Gates, Michael Dell, Bill Clinton go. So even South Korea, North Korea actually communicate there. It's like the only place they actually do communicate. So the cost of 10 is anywhere between 150,000, which is about 1.5 million rand to about 4 million rand. And I said, you know what? I want to go. So I was sold. So in the matter of speed of implementation, I'm watching on television, and then I'm calling. And so I'm like, hey, I want to call. I want to go there. So I call them up. And, you know, I called the World Economic Forum, and I was ready to pay because I wanted a picture with Warren Buffett and Larry Ellison and Bill Gates. Branding by association. That was huge branding. And when I called, you know what they told me, Scott?
No.
They told me I was denied because I wasn't successful enough. I was like, I've done all these.
You were prepared to pay $150,000, but they wouldn't accept it.
Yeah, I was ready to pay him. I was ready to pay it. I was denied. I wanted to get my money. I was so mad. So you know what I said? So I decided to do what every successful entrepreneur would do. I decided to start my own Davos, my own World Economic Forum. And I remember the lady said, sir, you can do whatever you want. I'm like, I will. So this is when mega partnering was born. So every successful business, in order to thrive, needs a business model and a blueprint, a branding and marketing strategy, and successful relationship. Those three things are fundamentals for anyone to succeed. Okay? So here's the best quote I've ever read, and I have on my wall, and it says, when you can do a common thing in an uncommon way, you can command the attention of the world. When you can do a common thing in an uncommon way, you can command the attention of the world. So I wanted to put an event where small entrepreneurs from all over the world would get together, network, learn, earn, return. That's the key to success. Write that down. Learn, earn, return. So what was the idea of mega partnering? So was, on one hand, we would attract the most successful entrepreneurs and CEOs, right, and thought leaders, mavericks. On the right-hand side, we market directly to millionaires and multimillionaires and billionaires from all the world. And in the middle of all this is me and you, Scott, and the people here on the line. And I create this power vacuum of success because I know that the millionaires want to meet the big name CEOs and get their picture with it. We want to meet both of them. And so we were right in the path of progress of this great vacuum, okay? So I actually mega partner one started with the former Prime Minister of Canada, Brian Mulroney. And I realized how many successful people were attracted because they wanted a picture with the former Prime Minister. They wanted to talk to him. Successful people attract successful people. You know, and this was not like an event where you have Branson and you just see him speak. I wanted people to talk to them, have a picture taken with them. I wanted to create an experience. The power of branding by association is more powerful than anything I could duplicate. So for example, Scott, I have a website that's selling a property investment, and then I have another website selling a property investment with a picture of me, Mr. Trump, and the helicopter. Which one gets the deal? Same price, same property, same everything.
Oh, it's the Trump one every day of the week.
Because branding by association. You may not care about celebrities, but a lot of people do. How many people have come to my event from South Africa with the picture of Arnold Schwarzenegger, which I'm sure everyone is getting like Twittered and Facebooked about. The more successful the anchor, the more attractive quality attendees. And when you are in a business environment for success, deals were done there. People were finding capital, finding joint ventures, finding property deals, finding people to bring them deals, finding money to fund all those deals, right? So it became just an experience. So mega partnering too, we had George Ross, Donald Trump's right-hand man. He also, because of this, and eventually ended up becoming my coach. He's been Donald Trump's coach for 40 years, still works there, 84 years old, sharp as a whip, amazing man. Then Mega Partnering 3, which sold out again. So don't forget, every one of these events get bigger and bigger, and we're selling out in a matter of weeks. Mega Partnering 3, Gene Simmons from KISS. Mega Partnering 4, Mayor Rudy Giuliani, 9/11, Mayor of the World, right?
Just a quick one.
Mega Partnering 5.
Sorry, JT, just a quick one. With that Mayor Rudolph Giuliani, he's got a book called Leadership that I would highly recommend people read. It's one of the better books I've ever read on leadership. So just for everyone's purposes there. He was the mayor of New York.
I was on a roll, Scott. So on the right is Steve Wozniak, co-founder of Apple. Here's one of my students. I'm telling you. So every one of my students would get a picture like this. Branding. Now, one of my students is actually sent me a picture, Scott, today, and she was in the paper with actually this background and a picture of me and her in the South African newspaper. It's on my Facebook if you want to take a look at it. I have no idea what it's in Afrikaans. I have no idea what it says, but I'm in the paper. So you have to try. Mega Partnering 6, Michael Eisner, former CEO of Disney. And then the last one, which happened about 2 weeks ago, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and boy, was that a great event. And everyone there got a picture. All of South Africa has that picture with Arnold. It was amazing. So it became the world's #1 wealth networking business conference. We had 800 people from 34 countries, attracts attendees from all over the world. Every conference sold out. 3 of the most exclusive concert attendees are handpicked. So even if people want to pay, they don't get in. They have to be handpicked. And no matter what their worth is, everyone leaves their egos at a door. And once they're in the room, everyone is looking for the same thing, relational capital. and we have the power to change the world. This is not about selling products because you know what, Scott, billionaires, they don't run to the back of the room to buy books and tapes, right? Or wait in line. If they want something, they'll write a check for it. But it's a different atmosphere. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, 100%.
So I decided, based on the wonderful feedback that I got, I decided to create Mega Partnering Africa. I decided to bring the world to South Africa because people have said I've become the #1 pitch person for Africa, for South Africa and Africa. Did you know that? I'm on my radio shows. I'm on TV. I'm talking about this. In fact, I have 7 interviews scheduled over the next day and a half in South African and African radios. So I'm going to bring my coach, Donald Trump's right-hand man, the man who was at Mega Partnering 2. I'm bringing him next weekend to Johannesburg, South Africa, because we are going to start the same thing I did in America, where the whole world comes over to America. I want the whole world to come to South Africa and Africa because I believe so much in the potential. So I'm bringing my friend from Australia, Stephen Bradbury, Olympic gold medalist, phenomenal story. He was in last place. They all fell, racing against Apollo Ono, won the gold medal. Talks about success and this. I'm bringing him. He's coming from Australia. So I'm bringing people from Canada, the UK, United States, Australia, New Zealand, China. They are all coming next weekend. And then I just found this out a few minutes ago. Vanessa Gooden, the wife of Sivi, she's coming too. She's going to talk about her brand, Vanessa G. She's one of South Africa's richest and most successful women. And I'm not sure if her husband's coming or not. Allegedly he is, but I'm not sure. But you got to admit, that's a pretty good find to bring. Is that right?
100%, yeah.
And then I got Robert. So he is he's an African billionaire, very, very successul. He wants to meet George Ross. He wants to get his brand worldwide. So we have him. And then we have the first Miss South Africa in 1992. She's coming. She's excited. DJ Zbu, who's on the show, 97.3, the Entrepreneur Hour, who's very well known. He's on, I think it's SABC show. I actually, last time I was in South Africa, I was like watching his show on television. It was really kind of funny. I just spoken to him and he was on TV. He's coming. Eric Trump, who's one of my best friends, he's going to be Skyping in, but he'll be there. That's Donald, Don Jr. to the left. Eric's the tall one on the right. Ivanka's the one on the next one. We're all very close. They're all, very good. And so he's going to be appearing by Skype. We will ask him some questions. Billy Silicani's coming as well. And then I have a couple of Mega Partnering Africa surprise billionaires. They didn't want me to officially announce them. They're going to show up at the event. But here's what I said. I said, I want billionaires. I want South Africa's and Africa's most successful entrepreneurs. I want them in one place. So if you want to go to an event and be sold 15 products, then don't go, because this is not what it is. If you want to network with South Africa and Africa's most successful entrepreneurs, including the whole world, this is what I'm doing. After you attend Mega Partnering Africa, there are no events that will ever be the same. So there's going to be 650 other A players from all over the world looking to network, relationships, and joint ventures. Everyone's going to wear a suit and tie. Everyone is of high quality. So it's going to be very, very important that everyone looks the part because they got dressed for success. So if you want to surround yourself with people that are...
I have to even wear a tie.
Everyone has to wear a tie.
Ties, though.
You know what? I've got some JT Foxx ties, which you can buy, my brother. So you're going to wear a JT Foxx tie. So if you want to surround yourself with people that are more successful than you, do you consider yourself an A player? Do you want to change the world and have more significance and leave a legacy? Because you are going to be around the most successful people. And don't be afraid, says, I haven't done anything yet or I'm not sure. When you're in that environment, things happen. If you take action, things happen. If you do nothing, nothing happens. You want the opportunity to meet one person, one deal, and one opportunity that's going to be the game changer in your life and business and in properties. You want to build your brand with the world's most successful people. That's how you build a brand. Branding by association. You want to be in a room with over $2 billion US in net worth. There might even be bigger. I think it might be actually $5 billion US. I brought every successful, and then we have some people that couldn't make it, and they want to Skype in or they want a copy of it. Everybody wanted to go to this thing. So power equals credibility. Credibility equals access. Access equals branding, funding, and opportunities. That's your business model there. Once you have the power, you have the credibility. Credibility gives you the access. Access, branding, funding, opportunities, deal, businesses, great success. There are 35 reasons why you need to attend Mega Partnering Africa, and there are 0 excuses. So you got something planned next week, cancel them, right? When in your life are you going to be in a room with 500 people more successful than you? If it's good enough for, I have some African billionaires that are redoing their schedule, redoing their family vacation in order to be there. So how can an African billionaire, very successful entrepreneurs, redo their schedule while the others make excuses? Broke people always make reasons why they can't do things. Successful people always find a way to make things happen. Do you agree with that, Scott?
100%. I mean, look, the biggest changes that I've ever had in my life is where I've trusted my gut and I've gone with it and I've made it happen. You know, quite a few times in my life, I didn't know how I was going to make it happen, but I made it happen, and the results from making those decisions have always been the best ones. You know, in terms of where I've got to.
Well, remember, who you hang out with is who you become. Who you hang around with is who you become, and your network equals your net worth. Mega Partnering has sold already 471 tickets. There are now 29 slots left. We're actually we may have sold a lot today. For Tata only, you can be part of this. And Scott, because they're part of your clients, we haven't done a webinar about it. We've only kept it small and intimate. We could have had over 5,000 people, but I didn't want more than 500 people at first because I wanted to establish the brand and I wanted to establish exclusivity. There's about 200 people on here, so we are going to make it available for those people only. So if they're interested, Mega Partnering Africa, which is next week, Friday to Sunday, with South Africa's and Africa's most successful entrepreneur. This is not a pitch-a-thon. It's actually quite inexpensive. You get your picture with George Ross. There's a high net worth dinner. And then there's about 4 or 5 other speaker surprises. Go to megapartneringafrica.com/Scott. And that way I'll know that you'll get the special discount because you went to Scott. And, you know, you go there. And I think
JT, just confirm quickly, because Ryan told me that it was /Scott P. I think it's just
I'm not sure. So let's see. Is it Scott P? Here. I will change it. I have no idea. I thought it was Scott. There we go. So there we go. There we go. Scott P. Did you try it?
Yeah, I've just sent it out to everyone on the chat box.
No, there it is, Scott. So Mega Partnering Africa, I need everyone to be there because I can't change your life. You're looking for a coach? I'll talk to you. You want the best coaches? We're also bringing 4 of the top coaches in the world that work for me, that I've personally coached. They're coming too. They're coming because they want to do business in Africa, but I'll introduce you to them. The best of the best from all over the world are coming to Mega Partnering Africa. I know, Scott, you're going to. I know your top people are going to. It's going to be amazing. I mean, I can't wait. I'm leaving on Monday. We're actually golfing the day before. So if you're interested in golfing the day before with George Ross, Donald Trump's right-hand man, talk to Scott. Email Scott if you're interested in golfing. If you want to go ATVing with me on Wednesday the 3rd, which is quadding, that's on the, I believe it's on the 3rd. Yes, 3rd is quadding, 4th is golf. You know, this is going to be an ultimate thing. We have to band together. This thing is going to be streamed all over the world. I'm putting South Africa on the map. I'm putting it to the world. All you need to do is to show up. Tell other people about it, right? Like the button. You're also allowed to bring some guests at no charge. You'll see the conditions there on the website. And also at Mega Partnering 8 this morning, we just announced that Jack Welch, former CEO of GE, who wrote all these great books, he's coming to Mega Partnering 8 in Orlando in November. But that's the type of caliber of people. I would like to bring him to South Africa as well. So, you know, these are the types of people. But people want to say, wow, JT's doing this. This must be good. I'm bringing the whole world to you for network to do business with. That's all I got to say, my brother.
JT, listen, from my side, could I ask you, have you got a little bit more time? Just a couple of questions I'd like to ask you in terms of
sure.
areas. Have you got time to answer everyone online?
Yeah, no problem. I got nothing to do, Scott. I'm here at your service.
Yeah, just sorry, I'm answering lots of questions here that are coming through about the events. The golf is on Thursday.
Golf is on Thursday, yes. So if they're interested in golf, they're going to have to email you directly, Scott, and you're going to have to deal with my people on that. It's obviously limited. We can't have, 600 people golf. But you have some like time with George Ross, and so that's the thing. And then I think I'm going to a fundraiser that night with possibly the next former Prime Minister of South Africa or something like that. I don't know. The minute I land, they've got things planned for us. I'm so excited. I mean, this is going to be amazing. I'm blessed to have you as a student, Scott. You're one of my top coaching clients. I think you are going to be the next big thing, not only just in South Africa, but all over the world. You have that potential. I knew it from the first moment I met you. In fact, sometimes I doubt you might just be American, my friend, just with an accent. I've always said that.
As I said to you the first time I met you, I don't know if that's a compliment or a diss, but anyway. Just a couple of things. Sampiwe asked, he's bought a VIP ticket, which means he can bring a spouse and 3 guests. Can he bring an extra guest?
Yes, that's fine.
Sampiwe, especially for asking, you're allowed to. Rick is
right. Sorry, hold on. I've got the event coordinator and #1 strategist in the world who always takes action, who always follows up and does what we tell him to do. Ryan, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Thanks, JT. Thanks, Scott. It's really exciting to be here. I've been listening the whole time. I just want to let everybody know, don't put the P on the end. It's just megapartneringafrica.com/Scott. Get rid of that P. So we made a change to make it easier for them.
You're keeping us on our toes here, Ryan.
Exactly.
Let me see. Let me go check the.
Yeah, I just went and checked, and
let me see if it works. Hold on. /Scott.
And then
you should watch the video too. It's a very good branding. Yes, it does work. And then, yep. So this is what the site looks like. It's amazing. So they should check it out.
Okay, then Rick is counting how many times you and I say So just so that you know, JT, you and I are having a competition here. Mark says, as it's showing Joburg event on the landing page, so that's perfect. Yeah, Mark, you're right. It is in Joburg. It's at the Sandton Convention Center, if I stand to be corrected.
Yes, and by the way, Scott was the one who is going to be in Boxburg. He's the one who complained the loudest, and he complained probably 50 times, and then we switched it. So thank you, Scott.
Just as my interest, everyone who's online tonight, would you agree that it's better to have it in Sandton than Boxburg? Rick has asked what the price is, JT.
When they opt in, they'll be able to get the prices. I don't know off the top of my head. It changes. I think you guys got a special price. I think I'm not sure, so I wouldn't. I don't really take care of that. Yeah. I actually don't take a look at the numbers on this until afterwards because there's so much value here that it's I think this one we did it very cheap because this was our first one because we want to build the brand but it's amazing. I mean, I'll be sending an email tonight of all the billionaires that are coming. So just put your information in, and I think the next page it gives you the prices.
Francois said,
Scott,
sorry, Ron.
If your students need anything at all, they can reach me directly, and I'm absolutely happy to make sure that they're well taken care of. My email is
Ryan. Ryan, why don't you do this? Why don't they email the questions over to Scott, and then Scott can forward you over the email.
Perfect. Scott has my email. Send them to Scott, and then I'll take care of everything and make sure they're well looked after, and personally introduce myself to you.
Ryan is absolutely phenomenal at his follow-up. If you send an email, he always responds back very quickly. He's actually known for that here.
Just a couple more questions because I think this is relevant for everyone. So Francois said, who is that then? Helen Zilla. I'm not sure what. South Africa has no prime minister. I'm missing the point here. But anyway, Marcus said he doesn't have a tie. He scrapped them all. Doesn't even know how to get one.
He can get one at the event. He can actually get a tie, and it'll be a JT Foxx tie. So it'll look really nice. And so,
okay, everyone agrees that that Sandton's definitely better than Boxburg. I can't quite explain it, but it's like the difference between New York and some hick town in the middle of nowhere. And sorry for anyone who's from Boxburg that's online tonight. Simpiwe has said, are there any other events, workshops that JT will be after the mega partnering? He has mentioned.
Yes, I'm going to be going on a tour. I'm going to be on a tour, but obviously not with the same quality of South African billionaires and African billionaires. But Scott, you'll give your people the information that I'm going to do a property tour and a business tour, but it's to be determined. You'll be when that information comes out, you'll be able to tell your clients.
Okay. Andre's asked.
I have integrity as a as a speaker, I would never want anybody. I mean, these are your clients, Scott, and I strongly believe that that if any information that comes, I mean, you decide. You know, what I mean, and my loyalties to Scott. He's my coaching client, so if he wants me to expose to you guys, great. If he doesn't, I respect that either as well. So that's how I work, and that's the type of ethics we should have in this business.
Andre said, what do you think of network marketing to get started and to learn business principles to create an income stream and to motivate his answer, please?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
What do you think of network marketing in terms of the type of business to get started?
Well, I started off with network marketing, and the lessons I learned is what not to do. The problem is that when you do network marketing, you're building this network, you're making the owners of the company rich as opposed to yourself. You can put the same amount of effort in just about any business, properties, business, and you'll do 10 times as more. And you're going to have sustainability, predictability, and consistency. Network marketing is too dependent on other people rather than your efforts.
Caleb asked a question, which is one of the questions I wanted to ask you. He said some tips from starting from scratch in the property industry. I mean, the question I wanted to ask was, how did you achieve your first million in US dollars in property by the age of 25?
I bought several properties and then started 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I did my first 13 deals in a span of 7 months, and it added up to $1.3 million.
So if Caleb was to say, what would be, I don't know, one or two tips that you would suggest for him to get started?
One, get coaching. Number two, surround yourself with people that are more successful than you. And number three, it's not what you know, it's not who you know, but it's who knows you. So work on your branding. You know, I know people that know a lot more than me in real estate, but they're not very well branded.
And then JT, I mean, another question which a lot of people always ask is how did you get to run and own 45 companies by the age of 32?
Well, I have the right people surrounding myself. You know, I have my CEO in front of me. You want to say hi, Damien?
Hello, guys. How are you?
How's it,
So I got
Damien?
my CEO sitting here, and he's been doing all the work while I'm on this webinar with my feet up, and he's just really mad that he would rather be where I am. So that's really what it is. You got people like him who do all the work, and and you're only as good as the people you surround yourself with. And so I'm a big proponent, like Warren Buffett is, of building, having the right teams, and then moving on to other things. And so I've sort of entrepreneurial ADD.
And I mean, look, that leads on a little bit, but a lot of people think that, most people have excuses. They're from the wrong gender, they're from the wrong ethnicity, they're from the wrong school, the wrong university, they don't have money. But one that's used a lot is age. And something that wowed me was that, you're currently 33 and you've been more successful than most people would dream about being in their entire life. How have you done it at such a young age, particularly in a country like America, where results and success are so important, but also age is I don't know, probably maybe actually America is a little bit easier than South Africa. I don't know in terms of the age thing, but I know age is a big thing, particularly in South Africa, because people respect age.
Age is only a thing if you let it affect you, right? And so when I was young, I couldn't afford to make mistakes, and so that's why I got coaching, and that's why I bounce off my ideas. If I didn't make any mistake, I was the real estate and business whiz kid. If I made a mistake, it's because I was too young. So you know what I mean?
Okay.
And by the way, Scott, there's a lot of people signing up here who are on the call, so that's very exciting. Very, 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 very excited. So there's already like 16, 17 people. John, and then Andre. God, there's Francois. I mean, there's a lot of people. So wow, it's really good. Uh,
Tell me,
Jane, there's Susie. I mean, Ken, Kevin. Wow. There's Louis, 3 Louis. Wow. So a lot of people are signing up. This is fantastic.
Kevin says to you, why do you define success as having lots of wealth?
I never said that.
So how would you
I
define
never said that.
success?
Success is measured by how many people's lives you've changed. It's about significance and legacy. Now, people who tend to say money is defined by wealth are people that don't have money. So I've made a lot of money. Doesn't change me. In fact, I've just bought a jet ski the other day, and I felt guilty about it for a week. So, I give a lot to charity. I'm involved in charity. When you have no money, it's all about the money. When you have money, then you can give. You can make a difference in other people's lives. Success, significance, legacy. That's what I'm interested in. I'm coming to South Africa for Mega Partying Africa to change lives, to meet great people. That's what I'm interested in. So.
Kanya asked you, what do you just said you're not a fan of network marketing, but what about franchising?
The problem is a lot of regulation on franchising, and sometimes you lose control. And the laws are becoming more and more and more difficult all around the world, and a lot of red tape. So that's why you see very few franchise making it these days.
Quick question, operational question. Louis said, "Why not Cape Town?" I don't know if you've got an answer
Because
for that.
we all know Cape Town people are fantastic, like Scott, but there's a whole different way of thinking in Cape Town. So business happens in Joburg. Many of the billionaires are in Joburg. Joburg is centrally. There's flights to everywhere. So I like Cape Town, but the people have been a bit different than Joburg. So anybody's willing to fly from Cape Town to Joburg, I know they're serious. So that's kind of been the feeling of it's like two different countries, Cape Town and Joburg, and I think everybody knows that.
And JT tells a hilarious story that no one told him when he went to Cape Town about the cold water and
Yeah,
jumped in the
nobody told
sea
me
and
that.
nearly had a heart
Thank you.
attack.
I'm still cold from it. Anything else,
Dude,
Scott?
dude, where would you invest in property globally? I mean, you've been all over, a lot of the countries you've mentioned are hotspots.
America, Canada, and Africa and South Africa. That's where I put my money in.
It's quite interesting, just from my perspective. We've built a whole model which I haven't had a chance to share with you yet, but it's actually our global property system in terms of looking at different markets. And there's a huge amount of research behind it. I'm actually writing a book with Clem Sunter, and a lot of people online will know who Clem Sunter is, one of the top three businessmen in South Africa. And at the moment, without taking sentiment in account, so taking into account the four fundamentals, at the moment, America is the number one market to be looking at in terms of high return, low risk. And this is the book. Just in my interest, who would like to receive a copy of that book once it's finished by Clem and I? I see
Wow,
Louis.
that's
I see
fantastic.
Louis. Louis says nothing wrong with Capetonians. This is where real people are. Come on, I agree with you, Louis. I live on Woodbridge Island and absolutely love Cape Town. So I can see quite a few people are interested in that book. So maybe my coach can help me find the time to finish it.
You know what? I would, and I'll think of some names. I change that. Plus, I changed the color. You know, you got the money there. That's kind of makes people a little bit unskeptical with the money. It's too get rich quick type looking. So you want to have the powerful brand. Plus, you want to have more of your brand on the forefront. And property going global. Most people are afraid of going global. So I make it more beneficial. You know what I mean?
Fair enough. Look, I think from my perspective, what we're trying to create is a model. Because a lot of people ask me to write a book, JT, but from my perspective, I saw no point in writing a book because by the time the book goes into print, what you write about London property is out of date. So, but my coach actually, and funny enough, you talk about coaching. My coach Roger Hamilton said you don't write a book about the current market. You write a book about the framework and how you make investment decisions as to where you personally invest. And that's the whole. It's very much like the Robert Kiyosaki cash flow quadrant. So you teach
Yeah.
people a system so that they can make the right decision. So Theo
Oh, yeah.
Kutsa
No, you're absolutely right.
has asked the question. I said, which African country outside of South Africa
The organizer has